Scenes V2 in Tasker have some new additions. Check it out. First off, let's check out these three new components. This is a slider, this is a range slider, and this is a progress bar. So a slider is something that you can control like this, and that allows you to select a predefined value from a range of values. So if you configure it, you can see which value is currently set. Here, it's 5, what the minimum value is and the maximum value is. So for example, you set this to 100 and you set the value to 25, you'll see that it goes there. You also can control the number of steps, which are these little dots here. So for example, instead of 5, you set 50, you can see there are many more steps where you can put the slider in. Or if you remove the steps altogether, it becomes a continuous slide like this. So this is the normal slider. You also have the range slider, which is a bit like the slider, but with 2 handles. So the idea is you define a value to go from and to go to, so a start and an end, and then you set the values that are in that range. So here you set again the minimum and the maximum. So let's set for example, set this to 10, and then set the start to 2 and the end to 8. And you can see that this is the selected range and this is outside a range. So this is for situations where you want to set the start and end of something. And again, you can set how many steps there are. And I didn't show in this one, but you can also set the thumb color to something else, like this. And set the active track color, which is this one. So if you set it to, let's say, this, and then you can set the inactive track color, which is this one, to something like this. It's your choice. This doesn't look very good, but yeah. So active tick color and inactive tick color. You get the idea, right? You can configure all this, and the same thing for this normal slider too. So these are controllable sliders, and this is a progress bar, which is kind of like a slider, but it's supposed to show some progress that you don't control directly. Here you can set a progress just like before. You can set it to 50, for example, progress 50, minimum, and maximum progress is 100 right now. So if you set this to 25, for example, it shows there. You can animate the changes. So for example, if you set this to 1 and now change this to 75, you can see that it animates the change there. You can change the animation duration. So for example, if you set this to 1 second and then set this to 25 again, you can see that it takes a bit longer now to animate. You can also change the colors, of course, like this and like this. And you can set the border shape. So right now you can see that it's a bit rounded here at the end and here. But if you set the border shape to square, it looks like this. In progress, you can also animate the progress from one value to another. So for example, if you set this to 3 seconds and animate it, it looks like this. And you can also stop the animation at any time like this with the stop action. These actions are available in Tasker for you to run directly. So these are the three progress kinds. Oh wait, I forgot to show you. This is the determinate mode progress bars, but you also have indeterminate mode. But wait, first I can use a circular one as well. So let's make this one a little bit bigger. Height 160, for example. And this is just the same as the linear one, but in a circular graphic instead of linear. So if you set this to 75 again, you can see how it looks. On this one, you can show a label as well. But you also have indeterminate ones. So it looks like this. When you don't know the progress, how long it'll take, or how much progress there is, you can show it like this. Or you can make it linear as well. And let's make this a little less fat, like this. It shows like this. And so these are the progress and sliders. But now I have another cool one to show you, which is the Flexbox. And you may know this from JavaScript, but a Flexbox is just a cool fusion between a row and a column. So it can be both if you want to. Let's see how it works. So you may have noticed that when I make this display a little smaller, it transforms from a vertical layout like this into a more horizontal layout like this when the screen is wider. And this is done with the Flexbox. So here in the direction, you can select row, column, or row reverse, column reverse, but I've attached a variable to it, and this dictates the direction based on a variable. And this variable is set here on the screen. So when the render is portrait, this direction outer that I was using there is set to column reverse. And when the render is not portrait, it's set to row. And that has the effect that you see here. Then there's this direction here, which dictates the direction of these three items here. So right now it's like a column, but if I make this taller, it looks like a row. So this is another Flexbox here that also uses a variable for its direction. And you have lots and lots of options here for the Flexbox. You can align stuff like this. You can center and make it like this. And depending on the direction it is, these things will look different. So if you ever want to have a fully dynamic display like this, a Flexbox is the way to go, because you can make it change depending on your screen size or whatever variable you want. And finally, I wanted to show you another cool new component, which is the camera. Let's just size it properly first. Give it some height, and then make it fill up the entire row. Let's see if it's inside a row. Okay, now it's inside a row. And this, as you might expect, is just a camera. So now on your scenes, you can have live camera feeds of whatever you want, over whatever the camera is pointing at. And even better, if I do this, clone after, I can have two cameras, but what good is showing two cameras of the same thing? So here you can choose the lens. My phone has 5 lenses. So in this one, I'm going to select front, and you can see that you can see the front and back cameras at the same time. Pretty cool, right? So you can now add motion and action to your scenes with the cameras to make them look cooler and make them have more functionality. I also wanted to show you here in this modifiers tab, there's a new modifier called scale. And what this allows you to do is, independent from the content, just scale it up or scale it down. And you can apply this to any of these components, and you can also scale it in different ways. So for example, let's say I want it to be the same horizontally, but taller, or on the other hand, wider, or whatever you want. And finally, you may have noticed that the styles here have a new apply when field. And this was already used actually for the this Flexbox here that contains these 3 items, because I wanted to make it full width when the render is portrait like this. When it's tall, I want it to take on the full width, but when it's widescreen like this, I want it to take on the full height. So with the apply when, you can now do this. As you can see, this takes on the full height of the screen when it's portrait, or when it's not portrait, and it takes on the full width of the screen when it is portrait. So again, with the Flexbox and the new apply when, you can make fully dynamic screens that react to the size of the screen and any other things you want. So these are the new Scenes v2 updates, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.